The 2000 Paralympic Games were held in Sydney, Australia, from 18 to 29 October. In September 1993, Sydney won the rights to host the 2000 Paralympic Games. To secure this right, it was expected that the New South Wales government would underwrite the budget for the Games. The Sydney Games were the 11th Summer Paralympic Games, where an estimated 3,800 athletes took part in the program. They commenced with the opening ceremony on the 18th of October 2000. It was followed by the 11 days of fierce international competition and was the second largest sporting event ever held in Australia. They were also the first Paralympic Games outside the Northern Hemisphere. Finance. The Games was estimated to cost $157 million, with the NSW government and Commonwealth government contributing $25 million each. The Sydney Organising Committee for the Olympic Games contributed $18 million within the bid estimates. The Sydney Paralympic Organising Committee entered into a host city contract with the International Paralympic Committee, which outlines the SPOC's obligations in hosting the Paralympic Games. To cover the costs, other revenue was raised via sponsorship and ticket sales. The 110,000-seat Stadium Australia was completed 3 months early in February 1999. This stadium was funded mainly by the private sector at an estimated cost of $690 million. The government contributed $124 million to this project, though there is no budgeted profit, if any profit is made through the Games. Repayment to the federal and state governments is the first priority. An estimated total of 41,000 Australians answered this call, non-including those sourced from specialist community groups. Environment. The major focus between 1999–2000 was completion of the first stage of the Millennium Parklands. This is composed of 450 hectares of landscape, with up to 40 kilometers of pedestrian and cycle trails. This major first stage included focus on the surrounding Olympic facilities, providing a beautiful landscape for recreational activities, conservation and environmental education, preservation. During this time, work on the water reclamation and management scheme will continue to progress. The WRAMS will be in use during the Games, with the first stage to be implemented. This system will continue after the Games and will be fully developed after the Games has been completed. The WRAMS system is only one of the many water-saving management strategies to be used during the Games period. Plans to use stormwater runoff from Newington to be used as irrigation and a requirement for Olympic venues to utilize water-saving techniques and devices are also some of the other water-saving plans. Stormwater from the Stadium Australia roof is to be collected and used to irrigate the central stadium. An environmental education program is also delivered throughout 1999–2000 to ensure that Homebush Bay and the Sydney Olympics and Paralympics continue to be recognized for their commitment to the environment. Administration. The Paralympic Games are governed by the International Paralympic Committee. The Games were organized by the Sydney Paralympic Organising Committee led by President Dr. John Grant and Chief Executive Officer Lois Appleby. The SOCOG was established at the same time as the Sydney Paralympic Organising Committee on 12 November 1993 by the Office of Olympic Coordination. In January 1995, SPOC became a public company controlled by the government, receiving support by both state and Commonwealth governments. A board of directors including the Premier, Minister for the Olympics, the Treasurer and the Minister for Sport and Recreation conducted administration. The Sydney Paralympic Organising Committee was responsible for planning and staging the Sydney 2000 Paralympic Games, including tickets, information on events and disability categorization, converting Olympic venues to Paralympic venues, conducting events, facilitating drug testing, arranging broadcasting, housing for athletes, arranging medal ceremonies, transporting athletes and conducting the Paralympic torch relay. The Sydney Paralympic Organising Committee also regulated the use of Paralympic Games and data and images. A committee known as the Joint Working Group was established in June 1997, linking the boards of both the Sydney Paralympic Organising Committee and the Sydney Organising Committee for the Olympic Games. On 29 November, the Sydney Games Administration Act 2000 was passed. The legislation caused the Sydney Paralympic Organising Committee to dissolve from 1 January 2001. Its assets and liabilities were transferred to the Olympic Coordination Authority. Political context. The Sydney 2000 Paralympics was only the sixth time that the Paralympics had been held in the same city as the Olympic Games. Removal of the Olympic rings was viewed by some as just another snub in a long line of poor decisions made by the IOC. The launch of the Paralympics was somewhat overshadowed as the Olympics minister Michael Knight announced his retirement on the same day. His timing was viewed by many as insensitive to the Paralympics. A day after this, Sydney politicians organised a large city rally to thank Olympic volunteers. However, they had arranged for this to occur on the same day as the Paralympic torch relay. The government soon realised the clash and refused to alter the day of the rally. Paralympic organisers received praise for selecting Kylie Minogue, an Indigenous Australian band Yothu Yindi, for its opening party. Olympic organisers took note of this and quickly booked both for their closing ceremony. Controversy. The Sydney 2000 Paralympic Games were marred by one of sport's biggest controversies, which saw a classification of athlete removed from the next two Paralympic Games. Fernando Vicente Martin, former head of the Spanish Federation for Mentally Handicapped Sports, allowed athletes with no disabilities to compete at the Games in order to win the gold medal. The team at the center of the row was the Spanish basketball team, who won the gold medal in the basketball ID, beating Russia 87-63. Despite fielding a team mainly composed of athletes with no intellectual disability, it was claimed that at least 10 of the 12 Spanish players had no disability. Rather were recruited to improve the team's performance and guarantee future funding. Martin was later suspended by the IPC and expelled by the Spanish Paralympic Committee. The athletes were quickly exposed and the IPC reacted by removing all events from the following games for athletes with intellectual disabilities. The decision was overturned for the 2012 Games in London. Along with the controversy surrounding the Spanish basketball team, the Games turned over 11 positive doping tests out of a total 630. Of these 11 positive tests, 10 were from male athletes and 1 from a female athlete. This leaves the Games with the highest number of positive tests from the 1992 to 2008 Paralympics. Mascot. The mascot for the 2000 Paralympics was Lizzie, the frill-necked lizard. The frill of the Paralympic mascot was colored in green and gold and represented the country via the shape. The ochre color of Lizzie's body aimed to mirror the color of the land. The frill-neck lizard is a native Australian animal which inhabits northern parts of the country. The lizard was chosen because of its will to survive along with its tenacity. It carries the Paralympic message of power and pride to both Australians and international audiences. The strength, determination and attitude of Lizzie symbolize the character traits of all Paralympic athletes. Lizzie has been given the voice of Olivia Newton-John, a well-known Australian singer, actor and entertainer. Olivia made performances with Lizzie leading up to the Games, spreading the word about excellence within the Paralympic community. The outstanding visibility and community engagement to Lizzie the Lizard ultimately led to marketing success, unrivaled by the three Olympic mascots. Lizzie captured the imagination of the public, leading to the iconic representation at the Paralympic Games. The Australian Paralympic Committee noted the significant branding capital and realised that this could be leveraged in the future. Logo. The 2000 Paralympic Games logo was representative of a dynamic human form leaping triumphantly forward and breaking through towards the Games. Not only was this depicted through the logo, but so too was the Olympic torch and the sails of the famous Sydney Opera House. Through the use of 3 graphic shapes, the colours used are unique to Australia and represent the blue of Sydney Harbour, the warm red of the earth, and lush forest green. The logo embodies Sydney's vitality, Australia's spirit, and the achievements of a Paralympic athlete. Ceremonies. The opening ceremony commenced on Wednesday, the 18th of October at 8 p.m. with over 6,000 performers taking part. Australian artist Jeffrey Street, John sang Advance Australia Fair and The Challenge at the opening ceremony. Kylie Minogue sang Waltzing Matilda and Celebration at the opening ceremony. Australian actor Brian Brown was selected as ceremony narrator for the evening. Other performers for the opening ceremony included Nathan Cavallari, Melissa Ippolito, Taxi Ride, Billy Thorpe, Jag Thompson, Renee Geyer, Tina Harris, Vanessa Amorosi and Christine Anu. Australian country artist Graham Connors sang his song, Being Here, which was specially written for the event. Addresses were given by Dr. John Grant, President of the SPOC, and Dr. Robert Stedward, President of the IPC, prior to Sir William Dean declaring the official opening of the Games. This was followed by Tracy Cross, a blind swimmer, taking the oath on behalf of the athletes, and Mary Longdon, an equestrian referee, taking the oath on behalf of the officials. The Paralympic torch entered the stadium and was passed from Katrina Webb to Louise Sauvage, who then lit the cauldron. The closing ceremony took place on Sunday, the 29th of October at 7:30 p.m. The athletes intermingled with other nations and took to the stage for a party filled with fire, emotion and celebration. During this time, the Paralympic flag was handed over to the Athens Paralympic Organizing Committee to the sounds of Mikos Theodorakis, Axia Nesti, Tis Dikios and Helianoige, performed by the Millennium Choir. The Australian group, The Seekers, sang their hit song, The Carnival Is Over, as the finale to the closing ceremony. Judith Durham, who had a broken hip, sang from a wheelchair. Torch Relay. The Torch Relay program's objectives were to develop a route in an event which would help maintain momentum between the Sydney 2000 Olympic and Paralympic Games, promote the Paralympic Games and encourage ticket purchases. It was also to safely deliver the Paralympic flame to the opening ceremony. While the relay visited each Australian capital city, it also focused strongly on Sydney and the surrounding region, as this was the main catchment area for ticket sales. The Paralympic torch relay succeeded in generating community and media support for the Games, with crowds in many areas and significant crowds lining the Sydney metropolitan route in the final 2 days of the relay. The event, which commenced with a lighting ceremony at Parliament House, Canberra on 5 October 2000, involved 920 torchbearers, each of whom carried the flame an average of 500 metres. After visiting each capital city by air, the relay travelled in New South Wales from Moss Vale through the Southern Highlands, Illawarra, Campbelltown, Penrith, Windsor, Hunter and Central Coast areas before heading to Sydney. Highlights included the creation of the Paralympic flame during an Indigenous lighting ceremony on the forecourt of Parliament House, Canberra, with Paralympian David Hall as the first torchbearer. The Australian Prime Minister attended this event. The use of a Royal Australian Air Force Falcon 900 executive jet to convey the Paralympic flame around Australia. The Paralympic flame being carried across the arch of the Sydney Harbour Bridge by 4 torchbearers. Sports and impairment groups. The Games included 561 separate medal events in 18 sports. For the first time, women's events were included in the powerlifting program, and wheelchair rugby, a demonstration sport at the 1996 Paralympics, was contested as a medal-awarding sport. Archery, athletics, basketball id, poker, cycling, equestrian, football 7-a-side, goalball, judo, powerlifting, sailing, shooting, swimming, table tennis, volleyball, wheelchair basketball, wheelchair fencing, wheelchair rugby, wheelchair tennis. Impairment groups for the games included amputees, blind and visually impaired, cerebral palsied, intellectually disabled, les autism, spinal cord injuries. Games highlights. The Sydney Paralympics were deemed the best games ever by Dr. Robert Stedward. The games were Australia's most successful in history, with the nation achieving their highest medal count. Of the 149 medals won, 63 were gold, 39 silver, and 47 were bronze, from 10 different sports. Ticket sales exceeded organizers' initial targets, with 1.1 million tickets sold, nearly twice that of the previous 1996 Atlanta Paralympics. 1996 Summer Paralympics. The Australian team had a number of notable gold medal-winning performances. Individual achievements included swimmer Siobhan Payton's 6 gold medals in the 200 meters SM14 individual medley, and S14 100 meters freestyle, 50 meters butterfly, 50 meters backstroke, 200 meters freestyle, and 50 meters freestyle. She set 9 world records in the process. Tim Sullivan topped the track and field medal tally with 5 gold medals. Sullivan won 3 gold medals in the T38 200 meters, 100 meters, and 400 meters events, and won 2 gold medals in relay events alongside Darren Thrupp, Adrian Grogan and Kieran Nault-Connell. The top-performing female track and field athlete was Lisa Lorenz, who won 3 gold medals from the F20 high jump, long jump and T20 200 meters. Lorenz also won a silver medal in the T20 100 meters. Other track medalists included Neil Fuller, won 2 golds in the T44 200 meters and 400 meters events, as well as 1 individual bronze medal in the T44 100 meters. Fuller later combined with Tim Matthews, Stephen Wilson and Heath Francis to win another 2 gold medals in the T45 4x 100 meters relay and T46 4x 400 meters relay. Heath Francis went on to win a total of 3 golds and 1 silver after also winning an individual gold and silver in the T46 400 meters and T46 200 meters events respectively. Other track medalists were Amy Winters with 2 golds in the T46 200 meters and 100 meters T46, and a bronze in the T46 400 meters. Greg Smith also won 3 gold medals in the 800 meters, 5,000 meters and 1,500 meters T52 events. In cycling, Matthew Gray won 2 golds in the velodrome in the individual cycling mixed 1 km time trial LC1, and a gold in the mixed team sprint with Paul Lake and Greg Ball. Sanya Parker and Tanya Morda also won 2 golds in the women's cycling tandem 1 km time trial and women's tandem cycling individual pursuit open. Medal count. A total of 1,657 medals were awarded during the Sydney Games. 550 gold, 549 silver, and 558 bronze. The host country, Australia, topped the medal count with more gold medals and more medals overall than any other nation. Great Britain took the most silver medals, with 43, and tied Australia for the most bronze medals, with 47. In the table below, the ranking sorts by the number of gold medals earned by a nation. The number of silver medals is taken into consideration next, and then the number of bronze medals. Host country participating delegations. 123 delegations participated in the Sydney Paralympics. Included among them was a team of individual Paralympic athletes from East Timor. The newly independent country had not yet established a national Paralympic committee, so the International Paralympic Committee invited East Timorese athletes to compete at the Games under the title of Individual Paralympic Athletes. Barbados, Benin, Cambodia, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Guinea, Iraq, Laos, Lebanon, Lesotho, Madagascar, Mali, Mauritania, Mongolia, Niger, Palestine, Papua New Guinea, the Philippines, Rwanda, Samoa, Sudan, Turkey, Turkmenistan, Vanuatu and Vietnam, who had not participated in the Atlanta Games, competed in Sydney. Media coverage. Media coverage of the Paralympic Games has steadily increased over the years. In the table below, the approximate number of accredited media at the Paralympic Summer Games from 1992 to 2008 has been listed. The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation aired 4 one-hour shows of the Paralympic Games after the event was finished. TV New Zealand also aired 4 one-hour specials of the Games post-event. In the United States, CBS broadcast a special called Role Models for the 21st Century, the Sydney 2000 Paralympic Games. The special was 2 hours long and aired in November. The British Broadcasting Corporation allowed viewers the opportunity to express their opinions towards the Games. Comments were posted under the heading, "Has the Sydney Paralympics been a success?" on their website. One viewer, Carol Neal from England, was cited as posting, "I am so disappointed to find the coverage limited to less than an hour per evening, on at a time when most people are still travelling home from work, and dismissed to BBC Two. Unlike the Olympics, which had a prime-time evening slot on BBC One as well as constant live coverage." Views. Dame Tanner Gray-Thompson, multiple Paralympic gold medalist for Great Britain, later said of the Sydney Games, "Sydney 2000 will always hold a special place in the hearts of everyone who was there. The Aussies love their sport and they treated us simply as sportsmen and women. We weren't regarded as role models or inspirations, we were competitors. Some of us won gold medals, most didn't, but, hey, that's life." Sydney was phenomenal because, from day one, you felt there was something extraordinarily special in the air. Sydney was an athletic Disneyland. It was where magic happened. It probably marked the time and place when Paralympians genuinely became part of the Olympic movement. Bibliography. Sydney Paralympic Organising Committee Annual Report, 1995 to 2000.